All right, guys, welcome back. You're stuck with just me today. We're going to be watching some dumb criminals, specifically ones that apparently self-snitch on themselves. Got this idea from Bruce Rivers, who I love. I do watch his channel. You guys should too. Bruce is awesome. So we got that idea to watch some self-snitching videos, and you're going to hear my reaction. I'll tell you the good, the bad, and you guys please do the same in the comments. We actually do read your comments, both the good and sometimes the ones that hurt my feelings. So thanks for watching. All right, let's roll here.
Florida resident Whitney Beale made a very dangerous decision in October 2015. After a night of partying, she drove home drunk. But Beale didn't stop at just one stupid choice. She also decided to use the Periscope app to live stream her reckless journey. Beale can be heard on the video declaring,
"If you're not new, I'm driving home drunk. Let's see if I get a DUI. In the USA, people, let's see if I get a DUI. I don't think I will."
Amid the sound of fellow drivers honking at Beale, she noticed how many viewers were tuning in to her bad idea.
Obviously, this is a bad idea, guys. I mean, driving drunk in the first place, we defend a lot of them, but it doesn't mean we condone them. It's not a good idea ever to drink and drive. Now, of course, compounding it by live streaming it, even dumber. As my man Bruce Rivers says, no self-snitching. It's just a dumb idea to broadcast your criminal acts, obviously. But the thing actually that made me pause it right here is the fact that other people are beeping at her on the road. That's really scary. I see a lot of DUI cases, and you may be surprised, most of them are not terrible driving. Like, a lot of people have sort of had one too many, or maybe think they're okay to drive and still not okay. Definitely not condoning that. But what I'm saying is most of the DUI cases we see, it's not horrible, terrible driving where they're all over the road and crashing and stuff like that. So when you do see that, like this, that's the scariest thing for me here, is that there's other cars beeping at her. It tells me there's a problem, and I hope she gets stopped.
57 people. Oh my God. I didn't know I'd get this many people. I am super drunk in the USA and their light is red, I promise.
But don't worry, Beale obviously had safety on her mind too. She told her shocked Periscope viewers,
"It's not cool.
Oh, I bet a viewer calls."
It's not cool.
Some of those watching the video
Yes.
feed called 911, and a Lakeland police officer was able to locate Beale's car by logging into the live stream. She was pulled over and arrested after failing a field sobriety test. On the way to the police station, Beale reportedly threw up in the back of the cruiser. Whitney Beale pleaded no contest to a charge of driving under the influence. She was sentenced in February 2016 to 12 months of probation, alcohol evaluation and treatment, a 10-day impound of her vehicle, and a 6-month suspension of her license. These are standard consequences for drunk driving.
Yeah,
but Beale was also
normal.
sentenced to 150 hours of community service and 10 days of weekend work release.
Yes, they hit her with those extra things because she's, because of the circumstances. Those things matter. I mean, a prosecutor in a case like this, it probably got some profile, a higher profile, maybe it's in the news. Prosecutor's not giving you a great deal on that. A judge is super hesitant to, give you a slap on the wrist when you kind of have those extra factors involved.
As a result of her decision to publicize her poor choices.
Let's see if I get a DUI.
Careless attitude towards, getting a DUI in the first place. That's never going to be looked at very well. Bad idea all around. I don't know what there is to say other than don't drink and drive. Don't drive while live streaming. Bad idea.
Eric, what could have been a routine traffic stop for Alan Lynch Jr. and maybe a ticket has now turned into a felony. And he's pretty much laid out the evidence for law enforcement.
So, y'all, I got away. Round of applause, round of applause.
A 5.5-minute video posted by Alan Lynch Jr. to YouTube.
To YouTube.
Bragging about getting away from a state trooper.
To YouTube. To the, it's like second largest website in the world or something like that, right? Like second largest search engine. Posted it to YouTube. I thought for sure it was going to be like on his private, blocked, friends only Twitter or Facebook, which doesn't excuse it at all. But it at least gives you a feeling of, a perceived feeling of security. No, this is just out there for the world to see.
Away from a state trooper who pulled him over earlier this month.
It's just a car that I drive just to get around so the police won't pull me in.
First of all, he wasn't just going to get a ticket. Like I like how the news, reporters like, he was just going to get a ticket. Probably not. In my experience, people run for a reason. For their reason. I'm not saying it's a good reason, but for their reason. They got something in the car. They're under the influence. They can't catch a new case, right? They get pulled over and they're going to, for driving in the first place, and they're catching a new case is going to violate them on another case. They have their own reasons, and usually for them it's like a decent reason. I have also seen incredibly dumb ones, like, I just didn't have time, or I didn't want to get a traffic ticket. You're like, well, dude, you just made it so much worse. But I'm gonna bet you that this dude's got a reason for it. Whether they figure that out or not, I'll bet you there's a reason. The other thing I wanted to point out is people do get away. We see a lot of cases where they don't, right? Because they're charged with it and then we represent them on fleeing and eluding. But we also deal with a lot of investigations where people get letters to the house, cops are knocking on the door, right? And this person is evading the police, not actively. I just mean it happened a day or so ago and the police are looking for them and they call us saying, hey, what should I do? Maybe they get away with it in the end, maybe they don't. But yeah, fleeing and eluding is always just a one that blows my mind.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Texas Highway Patrol. Reason for the stop is your expired temp tag.
I just got this car today.
See a dumb ticket.
I just got this car
tag.
today.
Okay, do you have your driver's license on you?
Yeah, I do.
All right, then go ahead and step out with me as well.
Why does he want him out?
The 23-year-old takes off, seen weaving through cars on the interstate in his Dodge
Traffic
Charger,
violation.
passing by them like they're at a standstill. And then you hear a crash.
State Highway Beltway 8.
Lynch documents.
Yeah, that was just bad driving. Come on, dude. You had nowhere to go. The reason was pointing out traffic violation as I'm watching is because here in Illinois, it can just be a misdemeanor. Fleeing and eluding the police can just be a misdemeanor. But if you are traveling at a high rate of speed, or if you commit 2 or more traffic violations, which 2 or more traffic violations is not hard to do if you're trying to get away from the police, then it can be upgraded to a felony. So he clearly, I don't know even where he's at, but here in Illinois, it's how did you get away from the police matters because that can determine whether or not it can be a basis for a felony. This dude goes at a high rate of speed, weaving in traffic, gets in an accident, clearly felony eligible, at least under our rules here.
Himself, quote, ducking off, as he put it, hiding from law enforcement at an apartment complex that day for hours. But he was identified, located, and arrested this week, charged with felony evading. This is not Lynch's first rodeo with troopers. In fact, he was out on bond at the time for doing the same thing months before.
Called it.
He was pulled over in September, and court documents say he got away after speeds reached 120 miles an hour on the interstate, almost 100 on the surface streets.
It seems like, speculating a bit here, but it seems like he's already out on bond. So here's the problem. When you're already out on bond, if you get arrested for something new, that is a violation of your bond, right? It's a violation of your bail bond. Think about that, right? So he got his first case, which was going 120 miles an hour or whatever, gets arrested for that. It gets released on a bond. Maybe he had to post cash, maybe he didn't, but he's out on bond while that case is pending. Catching any new case is going to be a violation of that original bond, and they'll lock you up for it. He knew that. He probably knew that, and that's my guess why he chose to take off. He thinks, well, I can't catch a new case, or they're going to lock me up. Well, he wound up catching a new case and still getting locked up probably. But that was probably the thinking at the time. Not good thinking, but that was the thinking.
And tonight, Lynch is out on a $10,000 bond. I spoke to his attorney on the phone, but she said she does not want to comment on a pending felony case. Live in the newsroom, Micah Hatfield, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
I wonder if they would have caught him anyways. It seems like he got away and they said he was in a parking garage for hours. If the car's registered to him, if the officer had body-worn camera, if the officer took notes of the description of the driver, they could pin him on this regardless. In fact, that's worth noting that a lot of jurisdictions have kind of pulled back on their chases for that reason. Like, drivers are terrible, and this guy crashed. Officers and other people are in danger when they're chasing someone. So the policies have changed a lot in a lot of places. Many still chase, but some don't, at least not unless there's a really good reason. But what they've really done is they've improved their ability to still catch you on the front end. Here in Chicago, they do helicopters and they have them on the ready. They are now have body-worn cameras where they're identifying the driver. Obviously, if the vehicle's registered to you or a family member, then they're often going to track that down. I've had cases where, a kid is driving the mom's vehicle and they get away. They run the plates of the vehicle and they see it's registered to mom, right? And they go, well, mom wasn't driving. It, doesn't match age, sex, whatever. Wasn't mom driving. So then the police have a pretty powerful database where they can just keep looking. Who are the other people at that address? Who are the other people associated with mom? Mom's got a son who's 23 years old. Pull up his driver's license picture. Bam, we got our suspect now. They can find his last known address. They'll send a trooper there at that address waiting for you. I've seen that before. So by the time you even make it home, they've already got an officer sitting around the corner waiting for you. So they've gotten a lot better in terms of identifying you and still catching you even when they're not giving chase. So posting your crimes on YouTube, probably not the greatest idea.
British man Michael Roos was on trial for assault in June 2012. The 21-year-old was accused of violently attacking his friend's father using a baseball bat and a baton, and he had entered a not guilty plea. Being tried for a crime is pretty stressful, but Roos wasn't worried about being convicted. In fact, as the trial progressed, he was so convinced that he'd be found not guilty that he shared his high hopes on his Facebook account. Roos did use a pseudonym on Facebook, posting under the name Michael Miles, but that didn't protect him from the consequences of his foolish words. Throughout his 2-week trial, he shared gems like, "Nearly time to leave for Crown and see the stuck-up judge."
I thought he was just saying, I'm going to be found not guilty of this. Lots of people post that. But yeah, maybe poking fun at the judge, not a good idea.
When Roos shared an update that said, "Another week at court," a friend commented on the status asking about his case, and Roos unbelievably responded, "Yeah, I think I got away with it, to be honest." He even managed to misspell got. 6 people liked this incredibly foolish status update, but one of Roos's Facebook friends with a taste for justice printed the evidence and got it into the hands of prosecutors.
I got news for you. Prosecutors were already monitoring it. Probably. If it's a 2-week trial, right? And I'm not saying they do that in every case, but if you're at trial for 2 weeks, they've absolutely looked at his social media. I guarantee it.
Essentially confessing to the crime, Roos had almost no choice but to change his plea to guilty. Ian Pearson, the judge presiding over the case, told Roos, "You pleaded guilty partway through the trial only really because you were stupid enough to put on Facebook what amounted to a full confession."
Kind of.
Roos was sentenced to 46 weeks in prison for the assault. After the incident, Roos's attorney told the media that the young man needs help with regards to thinking skills.
I love it. His attorney's putting him on blast. Oh, I love that. No, maybe not the best idea as an attorney, but, I don't know if I would call it a full confession, but I think it's definitely damning enough where if you're representing him, first of all, you say, "What the are you doing? Stop posting immediately. What are you thinking? You need help with your thinking skills." But also, you better get your client in a room one-on-one and say, This is coming out. Like the state is going to the prosecutor is going to make an issue of it. They're going to have a way to get this in front of the judge, right? They're going to do their damnedest. So we should think about maybe working something out. And it sounds like it's exactly what happened here.
I got out of a DUI and got let off with a warning.
Could it be true? Did this teen really flirt her way out of a DUI?
No DUI for me, is.
18-year-old high school student Skyler Floss posted the video on social media, claiming she was pulled over for drunk driving, but talked her way out of it after giving a sob story about breaking up with her boyfriend.
I was like, I just got out of a really bad relationship. He was really toxic and he dumped me.
She even says she failed a breathalyzer, but instead of arresting her, she claims the cop asked her out.
3.8.
3.8, and he let me off with a warning. And gave me his number and said we should meet for coffee or lunch.
That officer is in some shit right now. First of all, I know everyone's got stories back in the day. Back in my day, they'd, make you pull your car over and the officer drive you home. Or, everyone's got, I shouldn't say everyone. There are many stories like that. Body-worn cameras have changed all of that, right? Like, and social media has changed all of that. Like, geez, this officer's in such shit. Especially because it's a 3.8. Like if it didn't blow, then it's subjective. Like I didn't recognize signs of impairment. The officer can make a bullshit lie, and maybe get away with it. Say I just didn't recognize it. But if she blew and then he asked her out, this cop is in some shit, and rightfully so. A 3.8 is incredibly high, especially for an 18-year-old who doesn't have experience with alcohol, doesn't have the experience behind the wheel.
Teen also posted video she says was from earlier in the night that shows her chugging tequila and goofing around.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Now the sheriff's office is fighting back, releasing this body cam video that shows what really happened.
I pulled you over because you were weaving a little bit back there.
Oh, I love it.
Where are you coming from?
I was coming from my friend's house. I actually just got dumped.
Okay.
So I was crying and I'm really upset.
Okay.
How those crocodile tears flowed.
Were you on your phone and stuff too?
I was trying to call him to get a hold of him because my heart.
The officer shows compassion.
Well, I'm just concerned that you were weaving because of alcohol, but if you're on your phone, have you been drinking or anything tonight? No? Okay.
He checks her license and registration, and when he returns a few minutes later, he seems like a good guy.
Sounds like you're having a rough night, so I'm not going to add to that by writing you a ticket or anything, okay?
Contrary to the teen's claims, there was no breathalyzer, and he definitely did not ask her out. Today, I spoke with the officer, Deputy Tyler Stahl.
I feel so much better about this. Good. That is incredibly creepy and just wrong if some officer is asking an 18-year-old out and letting him get away with a 3.8. I am actually very relieved to see that this is a girl, full of bluster, trying to make up a story. That's actually relieving to me rather than an officer who's way out of bounds.
What was your initial reaction to this girl's claims that she flirted her way out of a DUI?
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I'm glad I was sitting down when I got the phone call.
If you didn't have the body cam, what would have happened here?
It would have been a he said, she said, and It would not have been good right away.
Turns out Skyler is a senior at Columbine High School. She says if the embarrassing video is proof of anything, it's that she still has a lot of growing up to do.
The 18-year-olds in general, these days, unfortunately, are looking for, I don't know what they're looking for, man. Fame. They have an ego, they have a story they want to try to make up or tell. Boy, that officer would have been in some shit if they didn't have that body-worn camera. And that's what we talk about at this table. Body-worn cameras are really good for good officers. Now, they're bad for bad officers, but they're good for good officers, and that's why I love a body-worn camera. And I'm glad it saved this officer's ass, because it turns out the girl was full of shit and not him. Now, the commentary that's still been unsaid is, why in the world would she post this video, right? Because clearly people found out about it, right? It was submitted to the police. Again, I cannot tell you enough. Number one, don't commit crimes, but don't record your crimes and put them on for the world to see. Everything is permanent now on the internet.
In March 2012, incompetent criminal Michael Baker came upon an unattended police cruiser in Jenkins, Kentucky. While most people would simply walk on by, 20-year-old Baker took a different approach. He grabbed a gas can, stuck a siphon hose into the car, and had his girlfriend, Joanne Sendelin, snap a charming photo as he brandished his middle finger. The fun could have ended there, but Baker went one step further, proudly posting the photo to his Facebook account. Along with friends and family, Jenkins police officials also saw the picture, and Baker was consequently arrested and charged with theft by unlawful taking.
Yeah.
Baker explained to local media outlets that there was hardly any fuel in the squad car, and the whole exercise was intended only as a joke.
Yeah.
He told TV station WYMT, "We was just standing there and thought it would be funny to take a picture and then post it on Facebook." Sandelin added, "Yeah, we're sorry, but it was just a joke. I mean, if we was going to steal gas, we wouldn't put it nationwide on Facebook. We don't steal anyway, but we're sorry."
I like how they're just digging on these two people. I believe that. I mean, just on its face, I believe that 20-year-olds do dumb stuff for clout, and this was what they decided to do.
Police Chief Alan Borms told media that if Baker was willing to steal from the police, he'd steal from just about anybody. Despite his impressive explanation and his girlfriend's heartfelt apology, Baker spent the night in jail as a result of this photo opportunity. After he was released, he got right back on social media, posting, "Just got out of jail. Yeah, LOL, I went to jail over Facebook."
No.
Sounds like he learned his lesson.
It is incredible these days how many people want to post their videos and their photos of them committing criminal acts on the internet. I can't explain it. It is just beyond dumb to me. But we all know the explanation. It's ego. We talk about ego a lot at this table. It makes people make dumb decisions. Defendants, police officers, everybody is prone to their ego getting in the way of common sense or good logic. I think a lot of these people in the video tended to be on the younger side. So I think that's especially prevalent, as you age, hopefully you get a bit more wisdom. Still plenty of older criminals, but maybe they're just better at it and not posting it on the internet. So stop self-snitching, guys, if you have any hope whatsoever of getting away with your criminal act. These are entertaining to watch.